we're back out at the yard. It's the next morning after the little fire that happened out here. What they determined was there was a electrical situation, an electrical short at a neighboring property that started a small grass fire that headed towards the yard, came under the fence, and started a small area of the new yard on fire. Now, if you've watched some of the footage from the new yard, you know I haven't moved any of the cars around here. It's been overgrown for decades, so it could have been a lot worse. Fortunately, the Great Bend Fire Department responded immediately. The fire was contained to a very small area, not a ton of damage. A little bit of stuff obviously got burnt, but the damage wasn't terrible. So fortunately, due to their quick response and those guys getting out here and getting on it immediately, they got it under control. So wasn't anything that I did. I wasn't even out here at all that day, but it was an electrical short on a neighboring property that started a small grass fire and headed towards my property. So that's what happened. We're going to take a quick look at what it looks like the next morning. It's first thing the next morning. We're out here. We're going to check it out real quick. Fortunately, small area and a minimal amount of damage. So let's take a look. Here we can see this metal panel here, this metal fence. We see kind of the gaps under there. We think that's where the fire kind of worked itself across and came under this fence. Now, we think this is kind of where it did it, and this was actually an old pile of tires that were here before I ever bought this property. So it came under right here, got into these tires, and I think that's kind of what started it really going, because these tires were growing up around weeds, and that's where it kind of focused at and got going. This old bus body that's sitting here, it burnt the firewall and stuff of it pretty well. However, inside this bus was just miscellaneous parts and pieces, so no interior or anything in it, fortunately, to do an excessive amount of damage. And it was pretty much contained to this area. We can look down the side of the bus and everything, and it never got any further past it than that. Right here, obviously, was where the worst part was. Got a little bit coming back this way. Now, this old Chevy pickup here, the front of it got toasted pretty good. This pickup was fairly well stripped. There wasn't a ton left on it. We can see the fenders and stuff were already rusty on it. It did get inside. The remains of what were inside are pretty much gone now as well. And it came right out through here. You know, melted the taillights out of that bed, but didn't really do a lot of damage. This old appliance was laying in here and kind of started moving this direction a little bit. Fortunately, did not get very far. Now, one good thing about it is this is where one of the roads I have through here, so this area was beat down. The weeds were all pretty much compacted, and that saved a lot of the fire going much further than this. Did come around this side of the Chevy pickup over towards these Chevys and burnt up to them, but that was about the extent of it. We can kind of see where it started going down between these two 58s. And this old Caprice and this other old Impala kind of got right around the edges of these. And up here in front of this old Chevy pickup, we've even still got a little bit of smoldering going on right there. So fortunately, not any worse than it was. Could have been way worse, thanks to the immediate response time of the Great Bend Fire Department. They got this thing under control, got in here, got it all soaked down before things got any worse. So that's kind of what happened. You saw a little bit of the footage from it burning. Fortunately, it was contained to this one specific area and did a minimal amount of damage to inventory. So, but that's what happened. An electrical short on a neighboring property that spread over to this metal fence, came under this fence, and came right in here where these tires and weeds and everything were grown up along this fence. And that's what got it going. So that's what happened. Fortunately, it was not that bad. Could have been way worse. Wasn't anything that happened here. Started on a neighboring property due to an electrical short and headed my way. So huge thanks to the Great Bend Fire Department, the Barton County Sheriff's offices. Those guys were all on the case immediately. They were on location extremely quickly, got the situation under control before it escalated any further than it did. So huge thanks to those guys and all of our first responders out there that keep all of us safe, keep these situations under control before they get out of hand, and do an outstanding job at it. So that's what happened. There's all the details and a little bit more of specifics as far as what, fortunately, all that did get burned, which was a minimal amount. So thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned. Want to keep everybody updated as to what happened.